Bernard Hopkins, also known by his monikers as B-Hop, the Executioner, or more recently as the Alien, is a fighter so underappreciated compared to his contemporaries that he battled with during his era of boxing dominance. Yet, his middleweight dominance and his rags to riches story, which is one of the greatest in boxing, was not just astounding, his longevity was as well. It was perhaps the greatest in boxing alongside the legendary Archie Moore. This earned Hopkins the status of becoming the oldest world champion in history, achieving boxing and athletic immortality. Let's take a look back on the career of the ageless Bernard Hopkins. Just quickly before we do get into the video, if you do enjoy these types of videos, please subscribe and let me know in the comments who you want to see a biography or an analysis on next. Okay, now that that is over, let's get into Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins was born on January 5th, 1965, growing up in one of the roughest crime-induced projects in his hometown of Philadelphia. Hopkins was first introduced to boxing at age 9 through his uncles who were also boxers. I wasn't able to find a definitive number of amateur fights Hopkins competed in, but it was between 60 to 110 bouts during his formative years, depending on the source. Although Hopkins had discovered crime as well, by age 11 he had become a petty theft. By age 13, Hopkins had started mugging people and had already suffered 3 stab wounds. When Hopkins had turned 17, he was then sentenced to 18 years in Graterford prison for 9 felonies. During his time in prison, Hopkins had witnessed a fellow prisoner killed over an argument over a packet of cigarettes, which caused him to re-evaluate his situation and his life. During this stint in prison, he rediscovered his love for boxing, and after almost 5 years of prison time, in 1988, Hopkins was released and started his professional boxing career. Hopkins' first professional fight was against a man named Clinton Mitchell, who Hopkins would lose a majority decision to. Downhearted and disillusioned, it took Hopkins 16 months to return to the ring. In February 1990, Hopkins would have his second professional fight against Greg Page, in which Hopkins would take home his first professional win. This win set Hopkins on a winning streak, winning his next 20 fights in a row with 16 knockouts, and 12 of those knockouts coming in the first round. After this incredible run, Hopkins earned his shot at the vacant IBF World Middleweight Championship on the 22nd of May 1993 against rival and undefeated 21-0 boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. In a quite stale affair, Roy Jones Jr. would comfortably outpoint Hopkins to claim the title. Hopkins, now facing his second loss in his career, had to prove himself once again. He would then defeat Roy Ritchie, Wendell Hall and Melvin Wynn by TKO before winning a unanimous decision over Lupe Aquino, then earning himself another shot at the now vacant IBF middleweight world title against Segundo Masato. Hopefully I pronounced his name right. But anyway, for the first time in his career, Hopkins was dropped in the 5th round. Then again Hopkins was dropped by Masato in the 7th. At the end of the fight, Hopkins had not done enough to win, but he'd done enough to earn a split decision draw. An immediate rematch was staged to definitively decide who was the new world champion, and this time Hopkins would not leave it to the judges. Hopkins would dominate his opponent, winning almost if not every round before knocking Masato out in the 7th. Hopkins had become the new world middleweight champion, but this wasn't even close to the precipice of his career. Hopkins' first 5 title defenses all ended in knockout against Steve Frank, undefeated Joe Lipsy, William Bo James, John David Jackson, and undefeated 32-0 Glenn Johnson. He would then defeat Andrew Council by unanimous decision before stopping Simon Brown in January 1998. 5 fights later, including a no contest, then knockout victory over Robert Allen, Hopkins then entered the 2001 middleweight tournament to determine who was the king of the middleweights. In this 4-man tournament to unify the middleweight division, Hopkins would first have to face WBC champion Keith Holmes. And if he were to win this bout, he would have to face the winner of William Joppy and Felix Trinidad. But in this first fight against Keith Holmes, Hopkins completely dominated the scorecards. According to CompuBox, Hopkins landed 261 punches and 48% of all punches thrown, while Holmes landed 86 at 24% accuracy. Hopkins was deducted a point for low blows, but that didn't matter due to the dominant performance of Hopkins. He had now unified both the IBF and the WBC World Middleweight titles and was one step away from becoming the undisputed middleweight champion. His opponent in the final of this mini tournament would be the seemingly invincible former welterweight and light middleweight champion Felix Trinidad, who was at the time 40-0. Trinidad had dispatched William Joppy in 5 rounds and had come out as the bookie's favourite for his bout with Hopkins. During promotion for the fight, Hopkins and Trinidad would travel to Puerto Rico. During this time, Hopkins would throw the Puerto Rico flag to the ground in front of many locals, enraging them, ensuing a riot. But that didn't matter when the fight actually happened. Only one man could come on top. In a completely lopsided bout, Hopkins dominated Trinidad, and in round 12, Hopkins would knock down Trinidad. Trinidad's father would then step onto the ring, stopping the fight. Hopkins had won and become the new undisputed middleweight champion, the first since Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Following this monumental win, he would defend his undisputed status 4 times before coming up against the then face of boxing, the golden boy Oscar De La Hoya. This would be Bernard Hopkins' biggest payday of his then legendary career. The then 39-year-old would make $10 million for this bout. When the mega fight had begun, Hopkins was too big and too strong for the smaller De La Hoya, where he would land a monstrous body shot on the golden boy, knocking him out and retaining his title for the 19th consecutive time. Hopkins' next defense against Howard Eastman would cement his place in the pantheon of great middleweights, where he defeated Eastman by unanimous decision, retaining the belt for an incredible 20th consecutive time, the most in middleweight history. Hopkins would finally lose his long-held titles in his next fight against Jermaine Taylor by a close split decision. An immediate rematch was in order, where Hopkins lost again to Taylor by unanimous decision. Hopkins would then make the move up to light heavyweight, where he would defeat 2 great fighters of the modern age in Antonio Tarver and Ronald Winky Wright. Following those 2 bouts, Bernard Hopkins would then face undefeated 44-0 Welshman Joe Calzaghe. The now 43-year-old Hopkins would drop Calzaghe early in the first round, but as the fight progressed, Calzaghe began to find his form, and when the final bell rang, Joe Calzaghe's hand was raised after a split decision. Bernard Hopkins would not let this deter him, however, and in his next 3 fights he would defeat Kelly Pavlik and former foe Roy Jones Jr. before earning a shot at the WBC World Light Heavyweight title against Jean Pascal. The first of their 2 bouts would end in a draw, the second, however, would not. In May 2011, Bernard Hopkins would make history, becoming the oldest world champion in boxing history, defeating Jean Pascal by unanimous decision at the age of 46. A no contest and then a majority decision defeat to Chad Dawson would leave Hopkins hungry to win another piece of the light heavyweight crown. Hopkins would then attempt to beat his own record when he went and fought Tavoris Cloud, and once again Hopkins would beat the odds. At the age of 48, Hopkins would claim the IBF light heavyweight world title. A successful title defense against Karo Murat, then once again Hopkins would beat his own record for a 3rd and final time when he defeated Shemenov for his WBA light heavyweight crown at the age of 49. His next 2 fights against Sergey Kovalev and Joe Smith Jr. would end in defeat, and his legendary career would end at the age of 51, only a month away from his 52nd birthday. His record stands at 55 wins, 32 knockouts, 8 losses and 2 draws. Bernard Hopkins' incredible legacy and records of being the oldest champion to unify, the oldest man to ever win a title, as well as the most middleweight consecutive title defenses in history, is a testament to his incredible discipline and work rate. He will forever go down as one of the greatest middleweights of all time, and one of the greatest rags to riches story in the grand history of boxing. So guys, that's the end of the video. If you did enjoy, please subscribe. I'm going to continue making a lot more of these biographies, and check out my previous ones if you did enjoy this one. Anyway, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.